How y'all doing today? What's up, Miss Ward?
Hey, you know what it is, man. Overextending ourselves, the usual.
No, we would never do that.
Oh my goodness. Trying to ignore the shiny objects
Yeah,
right now. Yeah, it's never a dull moment.
it happens. It happens. Good morning, Garrison. Good morning, Adam. Glad to have you along with us today. Yeah, we have those personality types that we end up in doing more than we should be doing and wondering why we don't know which direction is up. So
Facts.
that happens. That happens.
Put my do not disturb on.
Good morning, Brandon. Good morning, Marianne. Good to have you along with us today. We're talking employee woes. I know the theme was communication this week, but listen, when I have 3, 4, 5 different people reach out to me throughout the week and they're telling me I'm struggling with this, that's what it's going to end up being. That's what we're going to talk about. So, and we have we both have been pretty vocal on this topic before, have we not, Miss Ward?
Absolutely. Hey, let me tell you, it takes a special person. That's all I'm gonna say. But hey, you know, look, we need to get prayed up because this is gonna be big fun right now. We got to get in.
All right, here we go.
Lord, thank you for getting us up this morning. Lord, thank you for giving us the ability to have a special skill set to deal with people and deal with life. Lord, please cover us on our journeys. Lord, cover all the technicians and their families, all the business owners and their families and extended families. Give them the vision and the foresight to make the proper decisions so they can protect their investment and their businesses. Amen.
And whew, so employee woes. Always be hiring, always be firing, always be on the hunt, right? All my employees are always happy because they are living the dream. Yeah. Yeah.
All right for the tagline. Hey,
I listen, I got oceanfront property in Arizona, if you believe Doug's line right there. Going cheap. Going cheap.
what's up,
Morning.
EJ? I hope EJ getting a suntan for me. Okay. My melanin need to be popping too, EJ.
Adam popping in. Glad I wasn't the only one having employee problems this week. Listen, there's something in the
Yeah.
water. I'm telling you, something. So where it really starts is with you, the owner of the company. You should always have your head on a swivel, right? The line in Grant Cardone's book that I shared with one of the individuals this week, he says, listen, your employees aren't always going to be with you. And if you're shocked that your employees aren't going to be there for it, the only one who is guaranteed to be there at the end of the company is you. Why is your head not always on a swivel looking for employees in those unusual spaces, unusual places, right? You don't know who is going to make a good employee, good technician, good CSR, good whatever, right? Always have your head on a swivel looking for that high-end customer service. And so I think the root of the problem comes down to, as employers, we get so wrapped up in this, oh, we're a family, it's a business. I'm just laying all the cards out. I know I'm a little bit harsh this morning, but man, it's been a week of hearing it. I love you guys. I'm just spitting facts.
Hey, it's human nature to nurture and care and all that stuff. That's one reason Miss Ward is so rough around the edges, because Inside, I'm a nice, chunky little teddy bear, and you can get my last, and I'll shed a tear and kumbaya with the best of them. But let me share something with you. You're gonna have to get through the bite. You gotta get through the bark, because let me tell you something. The employee thing is a beautiful thing. I think that people have to be clear about their business model and structure. People who have a business that they want to grow and eventually sell, or have some type of what's the word, succession plan, they really have a real business. And it starts in that hiring process and being very clear, and then nurturing that relationship with your employees. Um, People really don't quit businesses, they quit people.
Mm-hmm.
And see, nobody really want to own that part. You know, in my background, when I used to be over hundreds of employees, and the thing that separated me from my peers was I was approachable. And when I dealt with my staff, I was always of service to them. But also, I didn't have a life. And when I say I didn't have a life, I covered, at the time, I think I had Florida and Georgia, the entire state at one time. And I would be on the road all the time because I would show up at my locations with breakfast. I knew what my staff and favorite things were. If someone was having a baby, I would tell them to go to Amazon, pick out what you want, like what, and I would just buy everything. But I was that kind of manager because I understood the struggle, the W-2 struggle. So I dealt with those people to let them know that they were important, and they weren't just working for a said company. They were working for somebody who had their back, who identified with their experience. And the problem with so many people is when they get in business, they forget where they come from.
Mm-hmm.
They forget they were a tech, and you can't just handle people any kind of way. Like, it's a whole situation. Then you got to make sure in your hiring process, you got to be slow to hire and quick to fire, but you also got to have a pool. Most people don't understand what their business model. They out here thinking they doing what they saw the good old boys do, but the good old boys had Jim Bob down the street who was so-and-so son, a son-in-law, and they could call him and they looked out for him. And if the kid was having issues behind the scenes, as a community, they dealt with that and kept it out of business, but still kept that kid employed so he could feed his family. See, that's a different mindset. Right now, you got to understand you're dealing with a generation that's all about Instagram, TikTok, 7 seconds. They've been programmed. So when you're dealing with the new generation, or you got to be able to speak that language.
I got a hangnail. I can't come into work.
I'm telling you, like, my apprentice has over $250,000 followers on his TikTok. But let me tell you something, this kid, I don't care where I am, he'll drive 2 to 3 hours to meet me, whatever I need done. But I saw it in him at Lowe's. I went to Lowe's to get something. I saw him helping his grandma with a washing machine. And I asked him if he did appliance repair. He had a little power washing and landscaping business. No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I mean, the kid was like, came out the womb right. The parents did a great job. Like, I can't train that.
But you hit on something really important there that a lot of people don't understand. And I speak from experience on this, right? And literally you just had this experience. You attract more of what you are in that moment. And so when you're hiring, you have to be very conscious of what you are giving off, right? That attraction force, that mindset that you are in at that moment that you are hiring, you're going to attract more of that. Miss Ward is out there hustling and grinding and wanting someone who, can bend over backwards, and she's bending over backwards for customers and her team and going every which direction. She's obsessed. She wants to grow the business. She wants to move it to that next level. Guess what she attracted? That same type of mindset. When you have an employee that bitches and whines and cries and is trying to find every which way out of work, guess where that came from? You. You every single time. And I am not picking on anyone. I've been that guy. when I was the angry jerk, guess what? That's the guy that I attracted, and everyone was happy when that guy left. Who did that? This guy. When I was the guy looking to get out of work and looking to skirt the edges, guess what I attracted? More of what I was putting out into the world. So as you're looking to hire, whatever you're putting out in the world at that moment, that's why you got to be slow to hire. You better make sure that that energy that you're putting out there is the right energy for what you're looking to do with your company in the future. And being clear in your goals is very important for that. I'm gonna let you step back in because gets me fired up.
What's up, Joe? Good stuff. Well, at the end of the day, you got to realize that people have to understand what their business model is. Some people are great employers where they can sell the dream. They're very sensitive to their employees. If an employee comes in a certain way and they feel the energy, they don't just let it pass. They have a private conversation. They are sincere how they address it because, it's always in the hiring process, but then after you hire them, you don't just let it go. You need to be investing in them just like you expect them to see the business long term. You got to understand what their hopes and dreams are. Like with the people I work with, I'm always supporting them. Like when I was on the W-2 side, my staff, I found out what all their interests were. I always asked, what can we do to get you to the next level? What can we do? I mean, I would be training people. My whole goal was to train people to replace me. I'm going to be honest with you. When I learned how to do that I wasn't, you work with some people where they want to just, and I see this in appliance repair, and it just killed me when I first got in this industry, how people would be holding back the bag. They'd be like, they don't want to give you all the information. Like I'm not going to drop no company names, but there's a specific company that never let the guys see the service manuals. They've had them working off of pattern recognition. If they weren't self-driven, they never understood schematics. They would just talk, if this happened, plug this in. If that happened, do this. So people never understood theory. They really never understood anything. And the mere fact that humans can walk around and have that level of ignorance just floors me, particularly in America when everything's free. So you gotta be able to see where people are going, but you also have to understand what your business structure is and what you need. Some people need the older tech that has responsibilities, but may have a couple of bad habits. You're gonna have to deal with that. Some of you guys want the young guy young lady that's trying to figure it out. Don't forget you was young like that one time. You didn't know what we're doing then, and some of y'all don't know what you're doing now, me included. But the reality is, you just got to enjoy the process. Stop beating yourself up, because we all do. You invest all this money and this time in this person. You thought they were there for the long haul, but you keep forgetting that's your dream, not theirs. That's your business, not theirs.
So I mean, that is so important. Like, if you can keep in mind that you will probably be the only one left in the end, it makes hiring, firing, retaining, it just makes it that much easier. Because listen, if I love the way Grant Cardone puts it. If I keep reminiscing about the good old days and the way this person was 20 years ago and how they were then my company hasn't moved forward. And what the heck am I still doing with that person who's here for 20 years that hasn't been, they're just collecting a paycheck. They're not motivated to move forward. And we've all seen that person. We've all seen those people everywhere. We see them everywhere, right? And so if you can keep in mind that it's more likely a short-term relationship, you hope it's going to be long-term, but the reality is it's probably going to be a short-term relationship. How much value can you pour into someone else's life in that short amount of time that you get to influence them? And all of a sudden, hiring, firing, employees coming, employees going, it doesn't sting, right? Like you're not taking it personal anymore. You're just adding value into the world, and you're receiving some value for your business as well. So
I agree. I think that we kind of have to touch on the real process. I think it's, what did Andrew say? I think it
I think it
starts with
starts
loving.
with loving what you do. If you
Mhm.
can't, culture will never be positive. 100%.
Yeah, yeah, Andrew. I love Andrew. I love that beard. What's up, Drew? Yeah.
Jose says most of these guys be vaping, so I tell my guys don't vape in front of customers. Yeah, I mean, like it's we're living in a totally different cultural realm, and the reality is that it actually hasn't changed, right? Let's go back to the 50s. Every picture and video, they're sitting there with the freaking cigarette hanging out their mouth. Like it really hasn't changed any. We, as human beings, we haven't evolved that far, right? Like we still are who we are, you know. And so it comes down to what Miss Ward and I have shared before. What you tolerate is going to permeate. So whatever you're allowing within your business, these things that you allow, they're going to continue. So you either nip it in the bud or you put up with it. Like Miss Ward said, you got the curmudgeon old guy and you know that you need him because you need someone that's skilled. Guess what? You're just going to have to deal with that curmudgeon old guy until you can't anymore. So is what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
What are some of the bad habits you've noticed in your text that you dislike?
Oh my God. I'm dude. Uh. Oh.
Want
I'm
to know
having
a better
flashbacks.
question? Want to know a better question? What are the bad habits that you notice in yourself? Because guess
Yep.
what? Your texts are going to reflect that.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Ask me how
Yeah.
I know.
Telling you, hey, that's a real delicate thing. Because I just feel that people are people. Like when I first got into the industry, I was hiring subcontractors and I was dealing with them remotely, and I would ship parts to them to handle things, and the guys would install one part and not the other. Like if I sent an ice maker and a valve, he gonna install the ice maker, not the valve, like a dummy. And the what's the thing called? The spout is icing over because this dummy didn't replace the valve. Because in his mind, well, it only needed that. First of all, I didn't ask you what it needed. And so that's how I ended up in the field, is because I just saw the quality of work. So I just feel like people do what they see you do, and if you don't hold people accountable, and let me tell you, that was the first and the last time that happened, because I was on top of it and I was in their butt. You feel me? Like, don't try me, don't play me, play your mama. You feel me? You didn't drop out my womb. You don't have to live, but
Yeah, I mean they do. That was the point that I was trying to get across. They mirror us. So if you have bad habits, if you have shortcuts that you're doing, if you have a way that you're talking to customers, guess what? Every single one of them is going to follow you. They're going to mirror you whether you like it or not. You can tell them all day long to do something different, but if you're modeling that, that's what they're going to do. It's your fault until it's not your fault, right? Like you have to be very conscious of what you're doing when you have employees. That's the reality of the
I just
situation.
think people need to build a bench. I think that most people, they hire somebody and stop. And one thing I did when I was on the W-2 side, I always set a weekly date that I would hire, even if I was snatching people from a competitor, because I'm ruthless. Like I knew in that industry, I knew so many people, and I had such a reputation of taking care of my folks that I never had those issues as far as hiring, but I kept a bench. because at the end of the day, life happens and things happen and people change. People go through slumps, depression, and all kind of things. And
Mhm.
that's why I'm not so big on the employee model, because the fickleness of an employee could destroy your business. Employees, they're humans, so you got to
Mhm.
understand it. But I think if you're going to run a employee based business where your growth is on the number of people you hire, you need to have a standard, you need to have a training process, you need to have SOBs, and you need to have SOPs, and you need to have continuous education, continuous training, and giving people what they need to survive. Because in this world, who has 401ks? Like, you got to get it together. Like, you really got to bring some value if you're going to have a real company with real employees and compete at a certain level. And I think people penny pinch so much, it's ridiculous to me. Like, dude, this is not the old days where you could throw somebody $50 a job. Like, I don't even understand where they do that at. I listen to some of these Facebook groups, and I pay this guy this, I pay him that. Like, my apprentice makes $200 a day, and he's a kid, and he's just helping me because, man, I'm telling you, my techs that I work, my subs, they make a really heavy percentage because I understand the quality I demand. I pay for that elite stuff. And a lot of people, they just don't think about business, in my opinion. Though, if you're going to spend pennies, you're going to get penny work. And then you also got to understand what motivates your employees. Sometimes not even about the money. It's
Mhm.
about what they can learn from you, what they see in you. You can't be selfish with that. But I'm trying to tell you, at the end of the day, you better get a plan, because everybody want to talk about this generation, but the generation came from us. Like, whether we like it or not. So you got to be able to identify what you need, and you got to be able to create the environment for it to grow and mature in. That is responsibility as a boss.
You hire Miss Ward, he'll be there Monday.
Yeah, it's
Saul
real
wants
though.
food added to his daily check. Oh, Saul. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, so many people. I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. You are a one-man show. You don't have anything going on. You don't own a business. You own a job. Figure it out. You got to
Yeah.
level it up. You got to get some goals down. You got to get a trajectory, and you got to start getting out there and hunting for employees or subcontractors or something. Because a one-man show is not a business. You own a job.
It's true. It's true.
That next level of that is, yep, I got a guy, and I'm going to run him, and I'm going to train him, and they forget that they need to be recruiting that next person, right? If you can get your top line up here, right, by adding, then the bottom line doesn't matter as much. If you can continue to add people that add value, if you can continue to attract employees that hit those level of goals that you're trying to get, guess what? You're gonna 10x, like Grant Cardone says. You are gonna 10x what
True.
you're trying to do. That top line is going to increase to the point that the bottom line doesn't matter, and you can begin to pay people what they are worth as you level up, right?
So why don't you,
Who
Zach,
gets that
tell them the title of the book from Grant Cardone.
Be Obsessed or Be Average. I am on my second listen to this book. I had a little, I went to sleep at the wheel, right? Like I backed off that gas pedal and kind of was coasting. And I turned on that book and I went 180. Time to turn it around. I needed something to get me amped back up. And I love what he said. There's another line that he says in there. You need to get around people that inspire you, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's, in actually in person, right? You need to get around people that challenge you to be better. And so listening to Grant Cardone, it's challenging me to be better. He's been somewhere that I've never been before. He's been in a direction that I want to head towards. Shut up and listen, right? Like I need to shut up and listen and just get inspired. And so I'm really loving that book, Be Obsessed or Be Average by Grant Cardone. And you love him or you hate him, but there's so much wisdom in there. There's so many things that I've seen play out time and time again. And he talks about employees and he talks about this and that. And I'm going, oh, I live that. I have been down that road. I know that song and dance, right? Like you see these things and it's like there's truth and there's wisdom. And so when he's pointing you in a different direction, you can begin to really latch on to, all right, that's a direction that I want to be heading.
Yeah. Well,
I like this.
Mm-hmm.
Finding more ways to share your habits and culture with your techs and admin, because at one point you were a tech and admin. Yeah, I mean it's really true. You attract more of what you are and you get out more of what you are. So as you continue to level up, if you've attracted people that are interested in leveling up, as you level up, they will level up, right? There's times that they're going to challenge you to level up. They're going to start leveling up faster than you. You fell asleep at the wheel. Time to level up, right? Like, I love that. Sharing your habits and your culture,
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be reciprocal with you as well.
Yeah. I think it's really important, though, that we do not negate the fact that as they hire people, they need to get their soft skills and their management skills in order because, you know, Miss Ward, I got a knee-jerk reaction. You act crazy with me, I'm act crazy with your back. We were just talking about that before the podcast, and I was talking about how polished Zach is, and I was like, Zach, I said, look, I don't know if I can code switch like that, bro. I'm getting old now and ornery, and I'm stuck in my ways. You gonna get it how it comes. Politically incorrect. But, you know, we were just having that conversation. But all jokes aside, when you start dealing with people and hiring people, you got to know how to manage them and discipline them in such a way where you're disciplining the behavior or you're addressing the behavior, not the person. And I'm guilty of that, where I'm like, who raised you? Like, really? This is what we doing? But the reality is that's not the way when you're really trying to develop a long-standing employee relationship and you want to see that person grow and mature.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I think Doug is probably the best person out there for this, right? He's always preaching, don't take it personal, right? Like, and so if you can learn how to do that disconnect, and like Miss Ward says, you're correcting the behavior and not trying to correct the person, right? You're not taking it personally. And how many of you are like, oh, well, you know, it's okay. And you just, you kind of turn the other direction. You're doing them a disservice. You're actually harming them more than if you were to just correct the thing that was going on. Listen, hey, this isn't personal. You're just acting a fool, right? Here's what you're doing wrong. And here's where we need to see this corrected. Good? All right, cool. I want to see it done in, 2 weeks. Let's track this improvement and you're not taking it personal. You're not attacking the person. Listen, this is what you did. This is what we need to see corrected. Let's check in. It's not about you as a person. It's the action that you took.
Yeah.
And you just move forward. It is a very hard skill. It's easy to say on one side of it, but in those moments, it is a lot harder to act out. And I've had moments where I've done it right, and I've had moments where it's like, boy, I wish I could take that back.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you, at the end of the day, employees respect correction and discipline. Mm-hmm. And time you let it slide, you just asking for the drama to explode. Because it's just like a kid. They looking at giving you the side eye to see if you caught them. and then they
Mhm.
finna they gonna do even more drama, create more drama. And if you correct it, you got a level of respect, and then you see the quality and the caliber of employee you have. Because you
Mhm.
got people that's just, they have issues with authority, they got chips on their shoulders. You know, you got to address it accordingly.
Yep. And you have to address it quickly, right? Like, so we say the little quip, hire slow, fire fast, but that's the reality. Like, you need to correct these things in the moment. You need to correct them as soon as they're happening so that they don't grow into something else. Because how many of you were that kid that was like, "Ooh, I got away with that. All right, let's see how much more I can push that line." Correct it now before it actually becomes an issue, before it spreads throughout the rest of your organization. Correct it. You're doing a better service by actually being the boss, right? Actually owning it, as opposed to just letting whatever fly. Because if you continue to let it fly, it's only going to get worse, and it's your fault, no one else's. You cannot blame the employees for that. Cannot blame culture, society, whatever. You can't blame anything but yourself. If you can't put on your owner pants, and take ownership of what's going on, that's on you. So it it's preaching as much to myself as I am to you guys, right? I've been in this situation. I'm just reminding myself of all the things that I needed to learn over the course of the years. So I got nothing else. You got any
I don't
thoughts for
either.
us to wrap up with?
No, I was going to ask you, did you have anything to run through the announcements or anything like that so we can make sure we check the boxes?
All access members. The next mastermind is July 20th. Going to be a good one. Business planning. We're going to talk more about these topics, about how to create the goals, the structure, the things you need to grow your business. So, not going to be cutting Andrew deep. You're an all access member. You're going to learn the steps to go from a one-man show into a blossoming business. How can you move yourself forward? You're not a member, servicealliancegroup.com, all access. We will see you next week on the morning grind. Have a good weekend.